The year was 2341, and Earth had grown brighter than ever before. Towers of shining steel reached the skies of New York, Beijing, Lagos, and Karachi. The oceans were guarded by fleets of automated ships, while the skies were filled with passenger craft, drones, and orbital shuttles. Beyond Earth, colonies on Mars, the Moon, and several stations in the asteroid belt thrived. Humanity had spread across its home system, not as conquerors, but as builders and dreamers. For more than a century, people had wondered, are we alone? Science had whispered no. The radio telescopes had caught strange signals once or twice, but they had never been clear. Astronomers had tracked unusual movements in the stars, but no proof had ever been solid. Humanity believed that even if aliens existed, they were too far to matter. Life went on. Trade, culture, and technology were humanity's biggest concerns, until the day the sky changed. It began in silence. On a calm spring night, dozens of observatories across Earth suddenly reported something impossible. A mass, far too large for a normal asteroid, had appeared near Neptune's orbit. It was moving with precision, slowing against gravity as if guided by engines. Within hours, every space agency on Earth confirmed the same truth. It was not a comet. It was not a rock. It was a fleet. The Valraki Dominion had arrived. From the very first images, terror spread across the world. The ships were vast, shaped like blades of black glass that caught the sunlight and reflected it coldly across the void. There were hundreds of them, each larger than the greatest of Earth's carriers. Their formation was perfect, military in nature, a clear sign that this was not exploration, it was conquest. The first global broadcast came soon after. At the United Defense Council headquarters in Geneva, leaders from every major nation, representatives from the colonies, and military commanders gathered in the central chamber. The air was heavy with fear and tension. A giant holographic screen flickered to life, showing an alien figure. The Valraki were tall, their forms armored in living plates that glowed faintly with blue light. Their faces were long and sharp, with eyes that burned like molten silver. When the leader spoke, the voice came through a translator, deep and commanding. Humans of Earth, you stand in the path of the Dominion. Your world is rich, your system valuable. Submit to our rule, provide what we demand, and you may live. Resist, and you will be destroyed. You have 7 of your days to answer. The message cut off. Silence followed. For a long time, no one in the chamber moved. World leaders looked at one another, their faces pale. The word submit echoed in their minds. Humanity had grown proud of its progress, yet here was proof of something greater, something that saw them as nothing but prey. President Amina Okoye of the African Union finally broke the silence. They do not seek peace. They only demand obedience. If we yield, humanity will be no more than slaves. General Marcus Lee of the United Defense Council nodded. And if we resist, we may not survive. The debate lasted hours. Some argued for negotiation, hoping to buy time. Others said resistance was the only choice, even if it meant annihilation. Reports from the outer colonies soon arrived. The Valraki fleet had already moved closer, their scouts passing through the Kuiper Belt. The clock was ticking. On Earth's streets, people watched the news in stunned silence. Families held each other close. In the colonies, miners and settlers armed themselves, preparing for the worst. Humanity had always argued, fought wars, and divided itself. But now, for the first time, the threat was not among themselves. It was from the stars. Admiral Elias Reyes, commander of the Mars Defense Fleet, addressed the council via secure link. His calm voice carried across the chamber. We cannot outmatch them in size or technology. But humanity has one advantage. We adapt, we learn. If they want war, we will not bow. We will fight with everything we have. His words lit a spark. The council voted. The decision was unanimous. Earth would not submit. Preparations began immediately. Every ship, every drone, every defense platform was activated. Engineers worked without rest to arm experimental weapons, rail cannons, plasma lances, and orbital shields that had only been tested in simulations. The colonies dug deep, converting their mines into bunkers and armories. Soldiers trained across every continent, while volunteers signed up in millions. Yet beneath the determination, there was fear. Humanity had never fought an alien empire. What if the Valraki were too strong? What if Earth was crushed before it could resist? Still, history had shown one truth. When humanity was cornered, it never gave up. As the days passed, the Valraki fleet grew closer. Their silence was worse than threats, for it gave no clue of their true strength. Satellites tracked them as they moved past Uranus, cutting across the void like a blade aimed at Earth's heart. In the council chamber, scientists prepared a counter-message. Dr. Hana Ishikawa, a linguist, had studied every word of the Valraki broadcast. She shook her head as she explained, "They do not believe we are equals. To them, surrender is natural. Resistance will surprise them." President Okoye leaned forward. "Then let them be surprised." The reply to the Valraki was short but powerful. It was sent on every frequency, translated into their tongue as best as possible. The message said, "Earth will not yield. We are free people and we will fight." When the message reached the alien fleet, there was no immediate response. For a moment, humanity wondered if perhaps the Valraki might respect strength. But the hope lasted only a day. New signals were intercepted. Valraki scouts had attacked an outpost in the asteroid belt. No survivors. The war had begun. From that moment, fear turned to resolve. On Earth, factories thundered day and night, building ships, drones, and weapons. On Mars, Admiral Reyes prepared his fleet, studying every piece of information about the Valraki. He knew they were stronger. He also knew strength alone did not win wars. In quiet moments, Reyes looked at the stars from his command tower. He thought of humanity's long history, of how they had faced empires, plagues, disasters, and still survived. If the Valraki thought Earth would fall easily, they were mistaken. The final preparations continued. The colonies armed themselves. The fleets gathered. The people of Earth waited for the storm to come. And somewhere, deep in the silence of space, the Valraki fleet advanced, certain of victory. But humanity was ready. This was not the end. It was only the beginning. The news of the destroyed outpost in the asteroid belt spread like wildfire. Screens across Earth and the colonies replayed the footage. Burned structures, floating debris, and silence where once there had been life. Families wept for those lost, but the grief quickly turned into something stronger: determination. Humanity had faced wars before, but this enemy was not one nation or one people. It was an empire from the stars. Across every colony, people repeated the same phrase: "We will not bow." The United Defense Council, now meeting every hour of the day, turned their words into action. Massive shipments of resources were diverted to shipyards on Mars and in Earth's orbit. Factories that once made farming tools or household goods were converted to build weapons and armor. Civilians volunteered in millions, not only as soldiers but also as workers, builders, medics, and codebreakers. The human race, often divided, now stood united under a single banner: survival. Admiral Elias Reyes oversaw the defense fleets from his command station above Mars. He was a tall, calm man in his late 40s, known more for his patience than for bold speeches. But when he spoke, people listened. "Do not think of the Valraki as gods," he told his officers during a strategy meeting. "They bleed. Their ships break. Their empire may be old, but that means it has weaknesses. We must find them." The room of commanders and scientists nodded. None of them had illusions of easy victory. But Reyes's words carried a steady fire. Meanwhile, the Valraki fleet tested humanity with small strikes. Scout ships raided mining colonies, trying to measure Earth's defenses, but to their surprise, the humans did not collapse in fear. On Ceres Station, miners armed with converted drilling lasers destroyed a Valraki boarding party before they could seize the colony. On Europa, scientists used improvised railguns, once designed for ice drilling, to cripple an enemy corvette. These victories were small, but they sent a message. Humans would fight with whatever they had. The Valraki, however, were not idle. Their commanders studied humanity just as closely. Reports from their scouts painted a strange picture. This species was young, barely stepping into the wider galaxy, and yet they resisted like seasoned warriors. Their ability to adapt, to take scraps of alien technology and make it useful, was alarming. The Dominion had conquered hundreds of worlds, but never before had they faced such rapid learning. Back on Earth, tension grew with every passing day. The skies above the planet were filled with the movement of ships and defense satellites. Children pointed to the heavens and asked their parents if the strange lights were stars or warships. For the first time, humanity realized that the entire sky could become a battlefield. Dr. Hana Ishikawa, The linguist who had studied the Valraki's first message continued her work in secret. She spent long nights analyzing intercepted transmissions, hoping to learn more about their culture. Her findings were grim. "They see us as tools," she explained during a council briefing. "Not as equals, not even as enemies worthy of respect. To them, we are simply a resource to be taken. Then we will show them we are more than that," President Okoye answered firmly. "If they cannot see our worth through reason, they will see it through resistance." The council approved several daring projects. One was the Phantom Program, a network of stealth drones meant to slip into Valraki formations and gather data. Another was Project Helios, an attempt to weaponize solar energy on a massive scale. Engineers knew these projects were risky and untested, but time was short. The Valraki were closing in. On Mars, the first major clash took place. A Valraki cruiser group, sleek black ships bristling with energy weapons, entered orbit expecting a swift show of dominance. Admiral Reyes was ready. Using hidden satellites and asteroid debris as cover, he ordered his smaller ships to strike in sudden coordinated bursts. Missiles flared across the void, guided by AI patterns that shifted unpredictably. The Valraki were caught off guard. Their ships were powerful, but their tactics relied on overwhelming force. The humans fought differently. They struck fast, retreated, then struck again from new angles. By the end of the battle, 2 Valraki cruisers were destroyed, and the rest withdrew. It was not a full victory. The Mars Defense Fleet lost several ships and many lives, but it was proof that humanity could stand. Across Earth, people cheered. Songs, poems, and stories were shared praising the courage of the defenders. For the first time, hope outweighed fear. But the Valraki were not finished. In retaliation, they unleashed a devastating strike against a civilian convoy traveling between Earth and the Moon. Thousands were lost in a single attack. The sight of burning ships above the Moon broke hearts across the system. Anger surged. Humanity realized the price of war would be terrible, but it only deepened their resolve. Admiral Reyes sent a message to the people after the attack. His face was calm, but his voice carried steel. "They think fear will weaken us, but we are not broken. We are human. We will fight for every life, every home, every world, and we will endure." The Valraki misread humanity's grief. To them, suffering usually led to surrender. Instead, the humans fought harder. Workers doubled their shifts, pilots trained until exhaustion, and scientists tore apart captured Valraki wreckage, learning secrets of their weapons and engines. One discovery changed everything. From the remains of a destroyed Valraki corvette, engineers found a fragment of their communication system. Within days, human scientists had adapted the technology to boost their own signals. For the first time, human ships could jam Valraki transmissions. The empire that prided itself on perfect coordination now faced sudden chaos whenever humans struck. The Valraki commanders were furious. They sent more ships, heavier forces determined to crush Earth's defiance. But every clash taught humanity more. Every defeat became a lesson, and every victory spread courage. In the council chamber, President Okoye looked over reports with grim pride. "We are paying a heavy cost, but every day we survive, we grow stronger. The Dominion thought us weak. They will learn they were wrong," Dr. Ishikawa added quietly. "The Valraki have underestimated one thing. They believe war is about strength alone, but for humans war is about survival, and nothing in the universe fights harder than those who fight for their home." The word stayed with everyone in the room. As weeks passed, the war turned into a storm. Skirmishes lit up the asteroid belt. Battles scarred the skies of Mars, and small acts of heroism spread like sparks. Miners, farmers, engineers, and students all became part of the struggle. Humanity was no longer a divided species of nations. It was one people standing together. And in the silence of deep space, the Valraki Dominion prepared their main fleet for a decisive blow. The storm had only begun. The storm of war spread wider than anyone had feared. Humanity had scored early victories, but those small triumphs had not gone unnoticed. The Valraki Dominion was no longer sending only scouts and raiding cruisers. Now full fleets began to arrive, dark blades of metal cutting through the void with ruthless precision. The first wave came for Mars. Hundreds of Valraki ships emerged from the black, their weapons burning like blue fire. Admiral Elias Reyes had expected them. but the scale was beyond anything humanity had faced. Mars's defense fleet was brave, but it was outnumbered 10-1. The battle lasted for hours. Human ships darted and weaved, striking from hidden angles, jamming enemy signals, and using the cover of Mars's moons. Valraki fire rained down like a storm of lightning, tearing apart stations and burning holes into the planet's atmosphere. Cities on the surface went dark as power grids collapsed. Admiral Reyes gave every order with calm precision, but even he knew this battle could not be won. The defense fleet was forced to retreat, pulling survivors back toward Earth. The Valraki claimed orbit over Mars, their war banners shining across the skies. For the people of Mars, the cost was terrible. Thousands perished and entire settlements were reduced to ash. Those who survived fled into underground shelters, swearing they would not give in. Across the solar system, the news sent shockwaves. The Valraki had shown their true strength. In Geneva, the United Defense Council gathered to hear the reports. The chamber was silent as Admiral Reyes's transmission played, his face pale but steady. We could not hold Mars. Our fleets fought with courage, but their numbers were overwhelming. Still, every strike we landed has taught us more. They can be wounded. They can be delayed. We will not let this loss break us. President Amina Okoye closed her eyes, then spoke with firm resolve. Humanity has always risen after tragedy. We will rise again. Mars will not be forgotten, and this war is far from over. The Council ordered all colonies to prepare for similar strikes. Earth itself became a fortress. Orbital rings bristled with railguns, satellites carried experimental plasma lances, and hidden bunkers were dug deeper beneath the continents. The moon was transformed into a shield world, its surface covered with defense grids. Still, fear lingered. If Mars could fall, what hope did Earth have when the main Valraki fleet arrived? Yet even in loss, humanity adapted. Engineers on Luna Base worked day and night on captured fragments of Valraki technology. One breakthrough came from their energy weapons. Unlike human plasma cannons, Valraki beams carried both heat and disruption fields designed to tear through shielding. Within weeks, scientists developed a hybrid weapon, part human, part alien, that could overload Valraki armor at close range. Another discovery came from their engines. Valraki ships were fast but rigid in design, built for formation tactics. By studying damaged thrusters, human engineers created new maneuvering systems that allowed smaller ships to twist and turn unpredictably, like hunters in the void. The first of these new ships, the Resolute, launched from Earth orbit. It was smaller than a Valraki cruiser, but it carried weapons no human vessel had ever possessed. The crew swore it would not be used for defense alone. It would carry the fight back. Meanwhile, the Valraki misunderstood what they had unleashed. In their long history, most species surrendered after the first crushing defeat. But humans were different. Loss did not break them, it hardened them. The images of burning cities on Mars were not a warning to surrender, but a call to fight harder. Volunteers poured into recruitment centers. Colonists in the asteroid belt began turning mining rigs into improvised war machines. Civilians across Earth donated their savings, their time, their skills. Everywhere, people whispered the same promise: we will never kneel. Dr. Hana Ishikawa continued her work, studying Valraki transmissions captured during the battle for Mars. She noticed something unusual. The Valraki commanders are not united, she explained to the Council. There are disputes in their orders. Some wanted to bombard Mars completely, while others preferred capturing the colonies intact. This division may be their weakness. General Marcus Lee leaned forward. If we can push them into confusion, even for a short time, we can strike harder. The idea became the seed of a new plan, not just to defend, but to disrupt the Dominion. Humanity would not wait to be conquered. Humanity would fight back. The first counterstrike took place in the asteroid belt. A Valraki supply convoy, carrying fuel and replacement parts, moved through the dark corridors of space. It was protected by several escort ships, confident no primitive humans could reach them, but they were wrong. From the shadows of Ceres and Pallas, a swarm of human ships emerged. They were small, fast, and armed with the new hybrid weapons. The Resolute led the charge, its cannons tearing through the lead escort. Valraki jamming signals failed as human drones cut through them with adapted algorithms. The battle was swift and brutal. By the end, the convoy was gone, its supplies seized, its ships destroyed. For the first time, humanity had struck directly into Valraki operations. The victory was celebrated across Earth and the colonies. Songs were written, flags waved, and people whispered, "The tide is turning." But the Valraki were enraged. The Dominion's High Council saw humanity not as a minor obstacle anymore, but as a dangerous anomaly. Their pride was wounded. Entire fleets were reassigned to crush Earth once and for all. To them, humanity was an insect that had dared to sting a giant. And for that, the giant would answer with fire. As the fleets gathered, Admiral Reyes prepared his own forces. He knew the next battles would be harder than anything before. But he also knew something else. Humanity had already changed. No longer were they only builders and dreamers. They were warriors now, united in ways never seen in history. Nations that once fought each other shared everything: secrets, technologies, even command structures. Old rivalries vanished in the shadow of the Dominion. In a late-night address to the Council, Reyes spoke plainly. The Valraki believe victory is their right. But every day we survive, we take that right away. Every ship we build, every weapon we fire, every life we protect, it weakens their grip. They came to conquer us. Instead, they have awakened us. And they will regret it. His words spread far beyond the chamber. Families repeated them at dinner tables. Soldiers carried them into training halls. Children whispered them at night. Humanity had found its voice, still the war left scars. Mars remained under Valraki control, its skies patrolled by black warships. Millions of colonists lived under occupation, forced to obey alien overseers. Messages smuggled out told of harsh rule, but also of resistance movements rising in the shadows. Farmers, engineers, and teachers all joined in secret networks, ready to strike when the time came. These stories of courage spread through the stars, giving strength to those still free. The Dominion thought occupation would break spirits. Instead, it planted seeds of rebellion. By the end of that year, humanity stood bloodied but unbroken. Earth bristled with defenses, colonies turned into fortresses, and new ships filled the void. The Valraki Dominion, once certain of easy victory, now faced an enemy that refused to yield. The consequences of their choice were clear. They had demanded surrender and brought war instead. And now, for the first time in their long history, the Dominion began to fear. Because humanity had sent them a silent message through every battle, every loss, and every defiance. We are not your slaves. We are not your prey. We are human, and we will never stop fighting. The storm grew darker and the galaxy watched. The war had stretched across the solar system, leaving scars on every world. Mars still smoldered under Valraki control, cities lay in ruins, and countless lives had been lost. Yet humanity's spirit had not broken. Across Earth and the colonies, a determination burned brighter than ever. Humanity had learned to fight as one, turning despair into strategy and fear into courage. Admiral Elias Reyes stood on the command deck of the Resolute, watching a tactical map filled with blinking lights. Each point represented a human ship, an allied colony, or a known Valraki position. He studied the formation carefully. The Valraki were sending a massive fleet toward Jupiter, intending to crush the asteroid belt's defenses and gain control of the outer colonies. It was the largest force humanity had faced yet. "This is it," Reyes said quietly to his officers. "If we lose the asteroid belt, our supply lines collapse. If we win, we give hope to every corner of the system. We cannot fail." The room was tense but resolute. Every officer knew the risks, but they also knew the stakes. Humanity's survival depended on this battle. Meanwhile, on Earth, President Amina Okoye addressed the United Defense Council. "The Dominion believes its strength alone can intimidate us. They are wrong. Humanity has something no empire has ever faced: our unity. Every nation, every colony, every person who fights. Together, we are stronger than any fleet." Scientists reported progress on several projects. Project Helios, the orbital solar energy weapon, was nearly ready. It could focus the sun's rays into beams of energy strong enough to pierce Valraki hulls. Meanwhile, hybrid weapons using reverse-engineered Valraki technology were being deployed across every ship. Humanity was not just defending, they were preparing to strike back. Rhea's fleet left Mars orbit under cover of darkness, a fleet of small, agile ships that could outmaneuver even the Dominion's largest vessels. The asteroid belt became their battlefield, a maze of rocks and shadows that neutralized the enemy's numerical advantage. The first clash began with surprise. Human ships appeared from the hidden gaps between asteroids, striking Valraki cruisers with missiles and energy bursts. Smaller drones disabled enemy communications, causing confusion among the Valraki ranks. It was chaos for the Dominion, but opportunity for humanity. Captain Lyra Santos of the Haven, one of the fleet's lead vessels, shouted into her comms, "Target their flagship. Focus fire on their lead cruiser." Human ships darted in coordinated patterns, each maneuver planned to exploit the Valraki's rigid formation tactics. The fleet's ingenuity paid off. The lead cruiser, heavily armored and imposing, suddenly erupted in flames as hybrid energy beams penetrated its hull. The destruction sent shockwaves through the enemy fleet, forcing them to retreat momentarily. Admiral Reyes did not celebrate. "Keep formation. They will regroup. We must be ready for anything." As the battle raged, the colonies of the asteroid belt rose to action. Miners and engineers repurposed their equipment to aid the fight. Drilling machines became mobile artillery platforms, and mining drones were equipped with weapons to harass enemy forces. Civilians manned repair stations, keeping damaged ships operational and supplying food and medicine to the fighters. Every person, every effort contributed to the war. For the first time, humanity's adaptability became evident on a massive scale. The Valraki had expected surrender after Mars, but humans were not predictable. Every action they took was clever, unexpected, and devastating to the Dominion's plans. Meanwhile, in orbit above Earth, Project Helios was activated. The massive satellite, hidden among solar arrays, focused sunlight into a concentrated beam. The first target was a Valraki supply station, approaching the outer colonies. The energy strike hit with precision, vaporizing the station and crippling its fleet. The Valraki could not understand it. No species they had conquered had ever used the sun itself as a weapon. Humanity had done the impossible. They had turned nature into an ally. While battles raged in space, resistance movements on Mars and other occupied colonies grew bolder. Civilians sabotaged Valraki supply lines, hijacked small ships, and spread misinformation among the occupiers. These guerrilla efforts, though small individually, disrupted the Dominion's communication and logistics, amplifying the pressure on their main fleet. In the midst of this, a daring plan was formed. Admiral Reyes proposed a direct strike at the Valraki command ship, deep within the asteroid belt. The ship controlled communications and fleet movements. Destroying it could scatter the Dominion forces, creating a decisive turning point. "Everyone knows the risk," Reyes told his officers. "We may not all survive, but if we succeed, we change the course of this war." The officers nodded. Each of them understood that victory demanded courage, sacrifice, and trust in humanity's ingenuity. The strike fleet moved silently, using the asteroids as cover. Sensors detected the command ship ahead, a massive vessel bristling with weapons and armor. Human ships hugged the shadows, closing in while drones jammed enemy sensors. Captain Santos led the first wave, weaving between enemy fire, while the Resolute prepared its hybrid energy cannons. The attack began with precision strikes on shield generators, causing cascading failures across the Valraki command ship. Explosions rocked the vessel and alarms blared throughout the Dominion fleet. Inside the ship, Valraki officers scrambled to respond. Their rigid formations failed to adapt to the unpredictable human tactics. Missiles and energy beams tore through their ranks. The command ship's destruction sent a shockwave across the fleet. Ships faltered, orders were delayed, and chaos spread. Admiral Reyes gave the final order. "Push forward. Do not let them recover." Human forces pressed their advantage. Each strike was calculated, precise, and relentless. By the end of the battle, the Valraki fleet was scattered. Many ships retreated to regroup, leaving the asteroid belt under human control. It was a stunning victory, one that no one had expected after the losses at Mars. Across Earth and the colonies, celebrations were tempered by reflection. Thousands had still been lost and Mars remained occupied. Yet for the first time, humanity had proven something vital. They could defeat the Dominion. They were not slaves and they were not prey. Humanity's ingenuity, courage, and unity had turned the tide. In a broadcast to the entire system, President Okoye spoke with pride and resolve. "Today, humanity has shown the universe that we are not weak. We fight not just with weapons, but with heart, mind, and unity. The Dominion chose war. thinking we would surrender. They were wrong, and they will learn that every attack against Earth and its people has consequences. Admiral Reyes added his own message to the fleet. This is not the end, but it is the beginning of our rise. Every victory, every innovation, every life saved strengthens us. Humanity will endure, and humanity will prevail. In the aftermath, engineers and scientists worked tirelessly to improve on every lesson learned. The hybrid weapons became more efficient, drones more adaptable, and fleet tactics more sophisticated. Humanity was no longer just defending. They were preparing for the moment they could reclaim Mars and strike further into Dominion territory. Meanwhile, intelligence reports suggested the Valraki were reconsidering their strategies. No longer confident of victory, they began to pull their forces into defensive formations, unsure how to respond to a species that had learned so quickly and fought with such unity. Admiral Reyes knew that the turning point was not just in one battle. It was in the realization that humanity was no longer the underdog. They had survived the storm, adapted to every challenge, and fought back in ways the Dominion had never expected. The galaxy would remember this day, and so humanity prepared for the next wave of war, stronger and smarter than before. The asteroid belt was safe for now, but the battle for Mars, the outer colonies, and the future of the solar system was only beginning. One truth remained clear. The Valraki had underestimated the humans. They had chosen war, and humanity had chosen to fight, not just to survive, but to prove that no empire could crush the spirit of a united people. In the cold, endless darkness of space, that spirit burned brighter than any weapon. The solar system was silent. For the first time since the Valraki had arrived, the only sound was the steady hum of human fleets preparing for the final confrontation. The asteroid belt was calm, and the colonies that had survived earlier strikes were bustling with activity. Engineers, pilots, and civilians all moved with purpose, knowing that the moment of reckoning had arrived. Admiral Elias Reyes stood aboard the Resolute, gazing at the map of the Dominion fleet. Their forces were regrouping near the outer planets, attempting to recover from the devastating loss in the asteroid belt. Yet their pride remained intact. The Valraki believed they could still crush humanity if they struck with overwhelming force. They had underestimated humans before. They would not make the same mistake twice. Preparations are complete, Captain Lyra Santos reported. Every ship, every drone, every hybrid weapon is ready for deployment. Project Helios is aligned and operational, Reyes nodded. Good. Today we end this threat. Not with surrender, not with fear, but with proof that humanity cannot be broken. On Earth, President Amina Okoye addressed the entire planet via broadcast. Millions watched from cities, colonies, and orbital stations. Her words were calm, but each syllable carried the weight of human defiance. The Valraki chose war, believing they could destroy us. They believed our unity could be shattered. They believed that fear would bend our will. They were wrong. Humanity will fight. Humanity will endure. And humanity will show the galaxy that no empire can crush a free people. The broadcast ended, but across the solar system, the words echoed in every heart. Civilians, soldiers, engineers, and explorers all shared a common understanding. This was humanity's moment. The final operation was named Project Aegis. It was humanity's boldest plan yet. A combined strike using the full might of human ingenuity, technology, and courage. The hybrid ships of the asteroid fleet would engage the Valraki directly, while Project Helios would deliver precise, devastating energy strikes. Simultaneously, resistance movements on Mars and other occupied colonies would sabotage enemy installations from within, creating chaos among the Dominion's ranks. Admiral Reyes spoke to the assembled captains before departure. This will not be easy. We face an enemy that has never known true resistance. They think strength alone guarantees victory. We will prove that courage, unity, and intelligence are stronger than any fleet. Remember, every action matters, every life matters. Fight not just for survival, but for the future of humanity. The captain saluted and the fleet moved out. The asteroid belt became a battlefield once again, but this time, humans were not merely defending. They were taking the fight to the Dominion. The Valraki fleet emerged from Jupiter's orbit, a massive formation of warships gleaming like black diamonds. They opened fire immediately, their energy weapons tearing through the darkness. Human ships dodged, maneuvered, and struck in unexpected patterns. Missiles launched from hidden positions struck cruisers from the sides. Drones disrupted communications and hybrid weapons punctured the hulls of the largest vessels. Project Helios activated. The massive satellite focused sunlight into concentrated beams of energy that cut through the void. Targets exploded as if the sun itself had struck them. The Valraki were stunned. No species had ever used a star as a weapon, yet humanity had mastered it, turning nature into a tool of defense and justice. Admiral Reyes coordinated the attack with precision. Every strike, every maneuver was designed to weaken the Dominion fleet while minimizing human losses. The Valraki were formidable, but they were confused, unprepared for a species that could adapt faster than their predictions allowed. Captain Santos led a daring assault on the lead Valraki command ship. Using asteroid cover and advanced maneuvers, her squadron broke through the outer defenses and struck the vessel directly. Explosions rippled through the hull, disabling shields and critical systems. The command ship's destruction sent shockwaves across the Dominion fleet, leaving many vessels leaderless and directionless. Meanwhile, resistance fighters on Mars launched coordinated strikes against Valraki supply lines. Sabotage, ambushes, and infiltration disrupted the enemy's ability to respond effectively. Even occupied colonies on Europa, Ganymede, and Ceres joined in, cutting communications and destroying logistics. The Dominion's enormous fleet was powerful, but coordination had collapsed. Humanity had turned every setback into an advantage. In the midst of battle, a single broadcast was prepared, humanity's final message. It was short, simple, and powerful, sent across every channel available. Since you chose war, prepare for the consequences. The Valraki intercepted the message and attempted to ignore it, but the words carried a weight no empire could dismiss. The humans who had lost friends, families, and homes were now united, striking back with a strength born of courage and necessity. The fleet pushed forward relentlessly. Human ingenuity, courage, and unity had transformed the tide of battle. Every loss had been a lesson. Every victory had been carefully built on experience and adaptation. As the battle reached its peak, the remaining Valraki forces began to retreat. Ships that had once seemed invincible now fled before a determined, coordinated humanity. The asteroid belt was cleared, and outer colonies were liberated, their people cheering as human forces arrived to reclaim their homes. Admiral Reyes observed the retreat with quiet satisfaction. "They will remember this day," he said, "not because of the power we wielded, but because of the courage we showed. Humanity has proven that no empire can crush those who fight for their freedom." Across Earth, celebrations erupted. Families embraced after months of fear. Soldiers returned from the edge of space hailed as heroes. Engineers, pilots, and every civilian who contributed to the war were recognized as vital parts of the victory. Humanity had not only survived, they had triumphed against impossible odds. In the aftermath, the remnants of the Valraki Dominion withdrew beyond the edge of the solar system. Word spread across the galaxy that Earth had faced an empire and defeated it. Other civilizations, long observing humanity from afar, began to reconsider their assumptions. The humans were not weak, not naive, and not easy to conquer. Admiral Reyes stood once more on the bridge of the Resolute, gazing at the stars. He thought of every life lost, every battle fought, and every sacrifice made. Humanity had endured, adapted, and grown stronger than ever. President Okoye addressed the people one final time. "Today, humanity has sent a message not only to the Valraki but to the galaxy. We are free, and we will protect that freedom. Let this be remembered, not as a tale of destruction but as proof of the strength, courage, and unity of humanity." The people cheered. They knew this was only the beginning of humanity's journey into the stars. But they also knew one undeniable truth. Earth would never bow, and humanity would never yield. Months later, colonies across the system were rebuilt. Mars and other worlds once under occupation became thriving centers of human ingenuity. Ships, both defensive and exploratory, filled the skies, ready to protect humanity from any threat that dared approach. Scientists continued to study the captured Valraki technology, ensuring that Earth's defenses would only grow stronger. The message that had been sent, the simple words broadcast across the stars, remained engraved in human history. Since you chose war, prepare for the consequences. It was more than a warning. It was a declaration of humanity's place in the galaxy. No empire, no invader, no enemy could ever underestimate humans again. Admiral Reyes watched a new fleet launch from Earth's orbit, each ship a symbol of human courage and ingenuity. He knew the galaxy was vast and dangerous, and other civilizations might challenge humanity in the future. Yet he also knew something essential. Humanity had proven that when united, when determined, and when brave, no force in the universe could break them. In the quiet of space, beyond Mars, Jupiter, and the asteroid belt, the stars seemed to shine brighter. They reflected humanity's spirit, undaunted, unyielding, and full of potential. The Dominion had learned the cost of underestimating Earth, and every being in the galaxy who heard the story would remember. When humans choose to fight, the consequences are immense and victory is never given. It is earned with courage, ingenuity, and unity. The war had ended, but humanity's legend had only begun.